You have to feel for the poor folks at Renault. When it comes to their mid-size SUVs, they haven't exactly had a lot of luck when it comes to names. When the first one came along in 2015, they inexplicably managed to bestow it with a moniker that very few people could spell and virtually nobody could say. Kadjar? Still not sure even to this day. And perhaps that's why that now the time has come to replace that car, Renault has decided to cut its losses with the name as well. That's why this isn't the new Kadjar. This is the new Renault Austral. Not sure the new name is much better if I'm honest. Looks to me like Renault's badge designer was randomly trying to write the name of a large Antipodean country and his pen ran out of ink 2 letters from the end. Still, at least it is a little bit easier to say. You'll also notice that on this particular one, a rogue E has been added to the end of the badge to make it read more like Austral. I had wondered whether this had been done to make the car sound a little bit less like the word nostril, but I am in fact told that it is to signify that this is the full hybrid version. More on that later. Looks-wise, it's very recognisable as a Renault with the same C-shaped motifs for the headlights and taillights that we've seen on the Clio, the Megane and pretty much every other Renault going, but just set into a taller, bulgier SUV body. That also makes it recognisable as an SUV, along with the high ground clearance and front and rear skid plates. A family SUV obviously has to be practical, and on that score, the Austral does reasonably well, not least because the boot is a decent size by class standards. The rear seats also fold down in a 60-40 split, but they don't lie quite flat and leave a step in the floor. The 2 portions of the rear seats also slide backwards and forwards to let you use the space available for legs or luggage as needed. There's lots of travel, and in most settings, there's enough legroom for a tall adult. Headroom isn't half bad either. Hop up front and you've got 2 12-inch screens, one landscape orientated one behind the steering wheel to serve as your instruments, and one portrait orientated one in the middle of the dashboard to handle all your infotainment functions. And they're both incorporated into this single unit that looks a bit like an L shape that's been knocked over. If that weren't enough, there's also a 9.3-inch head-up display projecting a whole bunch of information onto the windscreen in front of you. It all looks good and it works reasonably well with reasonably quick responses and fairly logical menus. The quality on show looks very good in most places, and there are plenty of thoughtful finishes to brighten things up inside, but there are 1 or 2 bits, like the glove box lid and the inside of the door grabs, that don't feel anywhere near as plush as the rest of it. And just look at this. It looks like the lever that Mr. Sulu would use to select warp drive on the Enterprise, and at the very least it looks like it should be the gear selector. But no, it is just a sliding rest for your phone and something for you to rest your hand on when you're using the infotainment system. Not sure it's really necessary, to be honest, but you will find some useful storage underneath it. As we've referenced it already, let's start with the hybrid aspect of this car. The only version available for sale in the UK, initially at least, is the E-Tech full self-charging hybrid, and that marries a 1.2 litre turbocharged petrol engine with 2 electric motors and a lithium-ion battery to give 196 brake horsepower. And there are various different modes that the system can run in. The wheels can be powered by the battery alone for short distances. Sometimes the wheels are driven by the engine, which can also recharge the battery at the same time. And sometimes both power sources drive the wheels. It's all controlled by the car to achieve greatest efficiency, so you don't need to worry about switching between modes or anything like that. Performance, it's got to be said, is very decent. The various power sources juggle themselves around smoothly and largely imperceptibly, and it always feels like there's enough go to keep you moving along at a decent rate of knots. All that and you get fuel economy of 61.4 miles per gallon. It's also impressive how smooth and quiet the petrol engine is when it's called into service. It does get the tiniest bit raucous when you work it to its limits, but there's enough go lower down in the rev range that you'll hardly ever need to. As impressive as the powertrain refinement is, however, there is quite a lot of noise from other sources, partly from the wind, but mainly from the tyres, which kick up loads and loads of road noise. When it comes to ride and handling, things are still a little bit of a mystery. You see, standard Australs come with conventional front wheel steering, but four-wheel steering is available as an optional extra, and that's been fitted to every test car that we've had the opportunity to drive. And with it fitted, the car feels very smart on the road. The steering is super direct, reasonably feelsome and nicely weighted. Although it's so responsive, it can feel a little bit twitchy if you're not really concentrating on keeping your steering inputs really smooth and precise. The thing is, standard Australs get a rather basic twist beam rear suspension, while the four-wheel steer cars that we've driven all come with a more sophisticated multi-link rear suspension, and that's going to have a bearing on your ride comfort. And even in this high-spec form, we do have some reservations in that area. Things felt quite firm at low urban speeds, even on the smooth Spanish roads of our northern Madrid test route, so we wonder how the car will cope with the battered B roads of the UK. Things do flatten out as you go faster though, and corners are taken with very decent body control and plenty of grip. So then, we've been reasonably impressed by the Austral in the form that we've driven it, but considering that that form includes various fundamental dynamic upgrades, including the four-wheel steering and the upgraded suspension, upgrades that we very much doubt most buyers will bother paying to add, then we should probably reserve final judgment until we've driven a more representative car and driven it on the special case roads of the UK. The cabin is practical, the build quality is decent, and there's all the luxury and safety kit you expect on offer, making the Austral feel like a well-rounded package. However, with such a competitive landscape in the mid-size SUV sector, pricing will be key to the car's success, and that won't be announced until next year. Let's hope for good news on that score. Thank you very much for watching this CarGurus UK video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for lots more great video content. And if you happen to be shopping for your next car, do be sure to head over to cargurus.co.uk to find it, and using our clever pricing technology, we'll even tell you whether the dealer selling it is giving you a good deal or not.